subscribe.
The Angry Ops Guy podcast, featuring Mike and Christina, pushing the ops machine forward no matter the grind. Real talk, real stories, and hard truths from two battle-tested pros.
Welcome back to the Angry Ops Guy podcast. We've had to put a pause on recording the last few weeks because us ops managers and agency owners have been too damn busy to focus on this, but we are back. And I am so happy because I've got Christina back with me. You're not dead. You're not missing in person or missing in action. Christina, first off, how are you? I missed you.
I'm good. I missed you too. I feel like we should have the sound, the from Hangover 2 when they're like, "We're back, baby. We're back."
We're back.
We are back, baby. We are fucking back. We're back. Yeah. Classic. We are back. We are back.
It has felt like a while, between your much needed holidays with the family and then trying to get the ops machine moving again. And every live grenade, as I say, that can come after some much needed rest, eh?
Yeah, it is it's like the ops karmatic balance restoring itself.
It's like the first day you're on the plane going somewhere, you go, thank God the computer's not open and I can breathe. The first couple days you're probably sleeping and just drinking and saying, calm down a little bit. And then you start to feel better. And then the sun starts to kick in and you're like, oh, I'm really feeling better. But then you wake up about 5 to 7 days in and you're like, I'll be back to work in 4 days. Yeah. And then the dread kicks in.
It's true. It's true.
Well, at least that happens with me. But here I am speaking for your vacation, which looked amazing and beautiful family photos and everything else. So would you have a good vacation? No, you had told me in a brief message coming back it was really needed, eh?
Yeah, it was definitely needed. I feel like it was just a nice reset. I think when you pause, you realize maybe some bad habits, or you realize maybe some piles you've ignored, or some things
you realize that digital marketing was not the career path that you should have chosen.
That I should have been just selling t-shirts on a beach somewhere. I would be really good at that.
Amazing. We actually have a topic today. Hurrah! And we're going to talk about EOS. Wah, wah. What the heck is it? Why are we doing it? When did we adopt it? But it is important because, again, our subject matter needs to be relatable to operations people, and especially digital marketing. And Christina and I have realized through other episodes that we indirectly talk about EOS, but now it's time to really make it a topic because it is such a powerful tool. There's a lot of misconceptions about it and the implementation effort. But Christina, let's get into it. Again, you brought this to me. You had an idea. You were talking about rocks, but that is obviously only one component. So where would you like to start talking about it? Or maybe I'll ask you a question to start, because it's, how long is CIPR in your agency? How long have you adopted it, or how far are you into implementing it based on the different phases and where your agency is at? Maybe that's a good starting point.
Oh, it's a hard question, but not. So it's probably been, what are we, 2025, 2015? I would say it's probably been 5 years that we have called ourselves an EOS organization. I would say in the last 2 years, we've done a full wholesale adoption. Everything there is, all of the things. Because I think too, and this is probably a good note for, agency owners and ops managers. EOS, there is this critical number. I kind of feel like it's 10-ish, where, you start to get the full value out of everything. Whereas if you're
for people that don't understand, 10-ish, what, 10 staff members?
Yeah, 10
people.
Kind of 10 people hanging around. And I think too, those in agencies that white label or use suppliers or use whatever, you can kind of count those as seats too, because you need process with those people. But when we were a bit smaller, we took kind of the key pieces, right? So visionary, integrator, we took kind of, champions. I would say a lot of us wore, and we still wear multiple hats, but a lot of us wore many hats as we were just trying to organize how we were communicating with one another. then, like I said, 2 years ago, we kind of, was it two? I'm going to say 2.5. Peter and I kind of got to this critical point too, where we went, we need a larger leadership team. Like we were just at this point where it's like, it just can't be the two of us having these conversations anymore. We need some healthy balance. We need to understand more. And that really did kick in when we had more people. I'll say that EOS was introduced to us for a business coach. Obviously, I feel like that's a typical mechanism for that. And it really transformed. So this goes back to like husband-wife teams. It really transformed, and I think probably made things a little bit healthier for Peter and I, because we'd come into a lot of conversations, and your partner's in business and your partner's at home, and if it's tense if the dishwasher wasn't packed properly that morning and someone's feeling a way about it, that's coming into the meeting too. And so what EOS initially enabled for us, and really was like the goal at the beginning, was allowing us to have better conversations. So I could say in a conversation, I'm the integrator right now, and you're like the champion of sales. You're the head of sales. And so the integrator needs you to report in about these things. And so all of a sudden it wasn't Peter and Christina are business partners. It's, in this situation, Christina's the boss and I need to tell her something meaningful. And then you'd have other conversations where, Peter would go, okay, I'm the visionary right now. And we need to have a conversation as the visionary is laying out a vision, and the integrator needs to absorb that and figure out how to do it. And then, and then there's the whole other, then we could have really good conversations as business owners. Okay, now we're business owners, we're shareholders, we're having a conversation and we're talking about the company a different way. So it helped us almost compartmentalize conversations. And that's what it I think unlocked for us, is healthier conversations in the organization.
Very nice. That's sounds so simple, but it's so powerful, right? Is just assessing what the actual problem is even before you can build the system, which is really what it is. But identifying those roles and how to jive with each other. And also you have a very unique situation, right? Being both in life partners and work partners, and being able to balance that based on your specialties, right? Because like I said, my initiative with, my dynamic with Peter is different, right? Him being the sole owner of his franchise, and rightfully so, and me being a worker, if you will. So it is different. Whereas I could see where you guys can really butt heads, like no puns intended for being husband and wife, but what that can do. Strong personalities, both visionaries in their own way. Ultimately, this is your agency that you've built from the ground up, and ironically, you are an integrator. So you have a really interesting lens, having kind of both sides of the glass full or empty, whatever, versus other people that only see it kind of linear in the sense of their responsibility.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one thing I struggle with most as an ops manager and as an integrator, is like, what hat am I wearing in this conversation? And I feel like as an ops person, you need to be a driver. So we tend to come into meetings and drive and maybe take over and play the leading role. And EOS has given me the ability to go, okay, well, like in this meeting, I'm actually not the driver. Like in this meeting, I'm just kind of hanging out and seeing what's next. Or actually, I don't even need to be part of this meeting. Someone else is going to have this meeting and then come to an ELT or an L10 and report back in and have a conversation there. So it allowed me to step back in certain parts, but it also allowed me to, I don't know, shut the fuck up too, right? Because integrators, we just talk.
Do we?
I think so. I think we drive in meetings.
Christina, it's a joke. You haven't been doing this for a while with me. You lost sense of my amazing sarcasm.
So,
she's like, just right. She's no, what I mean is like, no, I got what you meant. I was just adding the element of me being a brutish dick into the conversation, so you remember how awesome this is to do.
I'm just sensitive.
You're sensitive, or I'm sensitive? What did you say? Oh, Mike, I love your insecurities. I was like, I have insecurities. I do. Insecure with myself.
How did you guys start EOS? So, was this like we need...
Two words, Peter Jasnewski.
Okay, so tell walk me through that.
Christmas dinner party of
The Christmas.
2019. After a couple of cocktails, he pulls me over and says, "Mike, I want to implement this system called EOS, and I need your help to do it. And you're going to do it." Mike was not a couple of cocktails in, but Mike chose in that moment, because probably payday was the day after, said, "Don't give him the squinty eyes like this, going like, no, don't want to do that like I always do." And okay, Peter, sure, I'll have a week off of vacation at Christmas time to recharge my brain that's been exhausted for 10 years.
No.
I'll be ready to go to do this on January 1st. No. That was basically it. But no, Peter had the vision, as a visionary does, because obviously Peter keeps an eye on successful agencies. Shout out Neil Lappy,
Yeah.
shout out Jason Gervais and Denise Bowen, and others. I won't name everybody, obviously, but ones that were early adopters of that, and obviously seeing their success of having a system that runs the business. And he identified that no matter his success and hard work over, at that time, 20 years, we didn't have that system. And we didn't have a lot of that fundamental stuff mapped out. And we were, I don't want to say running roughshod, but it's hard. The year's hard. And then you look at the outcome and you're just like, we did okay, but we could do better with a plan and a process. So he had the vision to see that this was something important. I had the fortune and desire to want to make it better.
Yeah.
And once I started investing time in understanding the subject matter, it started to click. And it is, don't get me wrong, for anybody that's listening, because EOS is, there is some this perception that, you got to be the right size agency, and it's not for me, and we don't follow all the modules and stuff. And I ran a work session for THO yesterday for the doers group, and I had a thing about EOS in there, and I said, guys, you're looking at it the wrong way. Don't look at, you got to put the whole system in place. Look at the fundamental areas and start chipping away based on where your agency's at, because the whole thing is your building process. And that's where all small businesses suffer, is having a scalable, sustainable growth plan and targets, and all those factors, which we're going to go into, and we won't cover all on this first episode about EOS, but it's very, very important to understand that, it's so much easier to integrate a system such as this that can absolutely spearhead your business when your business is smaller.
Yeah.
And what I said yesterday is, like, we were talking about SOPs, and it was just like, do you want to build 100 SOPs because you've been in business 25 years and that's how big and busy your agency is? Or do you want to build 10 SOPs because you're 2 years in business and scale that process with the growth of your business? Because everything gets harder as it gets bigger, right? To try to fix and mend. So that's kind of how we got into it. Obviously, again, business coach. Peter was smart to invest in a business coach or an EOS integrator that would help basically mediate us, because that we assessed that was our problem, is we would talk about stuff and we didn't fight about anything, but we never got to conclusions and constructive, like, there it is.
Yeah.
And so with an EOS integrator, business coach, for, I want to say, over 2 years of every Monday working with her, working and just continuing to chip away at it and not getting too far ahead of ourselves until one section we felt good about, or we could prove with what that section or module said, we had the right stuff in place. And, maybe a segue on that, since kind of how we got into it. I would like to just pick on an element of EOS, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Data.
Oof.
Yeah, because again, I really want this to be relatable. Jokes are one thing, but I'm going to say this in reflection about our business, and it's not meant to paint Peter in a negative light or anything else. I didn't understand in my growth trajectory how important data is for decision making and being able to understand the narrative. Because again, I was an ops guy, always focused on deadlines and projects, but not how to connect it back to the sustainability and the health of the business. Yeah. So when you want to start looking at growth targets, you want to start understanding what your verticals should be. You want to start understanding historically what you've been successful at or what you should abandon. It's really funny when you're sitting there going, oh, our web department doesn't do squat every year. And you're sitting going like, well, it doesn't feel like that, but you can't prove it. Just like an employee says, well, I'm overloaded and they don't have time tracking to support it. It's data. And that's why every person hates data, but it's an ops manager's dream to have streamlined, organized, categorized data, because if you've been doing it long enough and you're smart to set it up the way you need it for your business, it will allow you to kind of see the path or the roadmap of where the business is going, where money is slipping through the cracks, and to make more constructive decisions of where to put your eyes and your energy. So, that was my shortcoming in my growth trajectory, is not appreciating it, where now it fuels my day and my battery inside and everything else, of like, I spend more time in Excel analyzing data that comes out of QuickBooks and teamwork and everything else than I do, assessing departments and tasks, because my job is data and my job is to prove to ownership that I can take his 25,000 foot overview, which rightfully every executive looks at the bottom line, and I fill everything in all the layers to get to where he sees the punchline. And that's the data we talk about now. And I cannot tell you how improved my relationship has been with Peter, because it's not because we're fighting. It's because I can challenge him on things with his statements or opinions or reflections, because he looks at the business different, because he's not in the business as robustly as he was even 5 years ago. Yeah. And then I show him something, I break it down, I want to change pricing, I want to abandon this. And he goes, what are you asking me for? He goes, the data makes sense. I see it. That's a dream to an ops manager, to be able to have that support of your ownership. Yeah. Because where do decisions come from? You have to prove them. And just like we say to clients in the sense of marketing performance, don't come to me with your subjectivity of it's not working and we can't close leads and you're not performing. But if the data shows we are, you need to look at the data for what it is. That data is black and white, punchline. There's no gray zone with it. So that's kind of my mouthful about data, just to kind of set it up. But how do you look at it, and where did you struggle with it, or do you align with me, or do you look at it differently?
No, I think you're right. I mean, I'm going to pump your tires a bit. I really have looked up to you in terms of data. Like I feel like that is where our relationship started early on, was you had a lot of conversations about data with me and what you're tracking and how you feel like, for me as a business owner, and I will just say, like, from my career path, maybe my whole life, I don't know, we're going to get real, Christina's deep past and but like, I always felt like I'm not a math person, right? Like, I'm not a numbers girl. I'm a PR girl. Like, I can talk and I can, right? Like, that's me. That's my shtick. Like, I don't look like a mathematician. So when people used to say,
I barely passed grade 12 university college math, so don't worry.
Right. But like, as soon as I was allowed to stop taking math in high school, I stopped taking math in high school. Right. Like,
damn right.
I don't have a business degree. I have a communications degree, and I had to take one stats course in that whole thing. And it was just horrendous. Thank God I could use other marks. But I feel like I had built this narrative up in my head. I think I had one experience, my last experience in corporate. A new boss had come on the scene, and he basically said, I had come from a boss who managed the whole budget herself. She had 9 managers under her. I was one of them. And she basically was the type of manager that said, here's the amount of money you have, spend it, do what you need, report back to me. But I didn't have this level of accountability in the numbers. I just had a level of accountability to basically do what she told me to, strategically, and whatever, which is fine. Yep. He came in and he wanted this, no, I need to see it all. I need the data. I need to understand what we're doing. And so, Q challenging me the first time on numbers. And I really was in, one, I didn't really like the guy. 2, I went, well, I'm not a math person. This isn't what I signed up for. Did it was fine. Took me a long time. Then went and did my own thing in the business, and just had the rudimentary numbers. And okay, I know what I'm making every month, and I know my time that I'm tracking, and blah, blah, blah. But then as my business coach started challenging me on like, okay, well, what are the numbers? And it's like, well, I'm not an accountant. I don't know. I don't know really my numbers that well. And, you know, I kind of knew them and I kind of didn't. And I made all of these excuses to myself about, oh, it's hard. I don't know how to do it. But now to your point, like one of my favorite things is sitting in the spreadsheet at the end of a month and looking at all the numbers and understanding month end and understanding where we're hitting things and where we're not and what expenses we can cut or what's actually really getting to the bottom line or where I need to, you know, where I'm leaving money on the table or where I'm like, now it has become a fuel. And honestly, all it was like this self doubt or this, I don't know, self something, right? I had told myself I'm not good at this. And then all of a sudden I changed my mind. And it's honestly probably my favorite part of my job in operations is understanding those numbers and being in the spreadsheet and being able to tell my visionary, here's what I need. So exactly that. And it's this, you know, you might not be married to your Peter, but it's the same relationship. Now I can go to my Peter and say,
Where do you think I got this ring from? My 15-year anniversary at WSI.
promise ring. It's your promise ring.
Love you, Peter, but don't love you like that.
Right. But it is this, like, now I can have these conversations like, sorry, like this is the budget that was set, or sorry, we didn't make this number this month, or sorry, never sell that again. Because
can I jump in for a second and just tell you, so I want to play off something you just said there was really smart. Like, be able to go to your visionary and say, you know, we can't do this or we can't sell it for that. Like, we were looking at profitability of departments and certain things. And on the website, Peter felt through his numbers and how he tracked them at the time and whatnot, that, you know, we weren't profitable enough on website projects. And this is going back again, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And it's like, Mike, we're pumping out 20, 25 projects a year. You're burned to the ground by December, but like, I'm not seeing it on the bottom line. And then obviously, you know, defense, you know, insecure Mike's like, you know, I've worked hard all year. What do you mean you're not making money? Because at the time, don't have access to the books, and that's fine. But, you know, you take it like a badge of hurt, like a badge of honor, going like, you know, what do you mean I'm not making you money and we didn't succeed and so forth? Well, when we started putting our data together and realizing that we had to overhaul all of it, which was a really wonderful but hard exercise. Yeah. The problem was how we were selling it, because it was this, and nobody can see us because we don't do video yet, but I'm licking my thumb like, oh, just put a price on it, which many people do, right? Because we work to price it competitively to just get a job. But are you actually factoring in a profit margin so you can make money, or are you literally doing the project to make somebody happy and you make no money? Our job is to make money. And everything we sell must have some points on it or a proper cost structure to be able to gauge, is our pricing accurate? Do we have to change it every year? Is our supplier cost going up where we're not going to sit there and say, what do? We just simply have to adjust and proportionally scale our packages. It all comes from understanding that data or assessing what. So our whole was, we're not quoting things correctly. Our sell sheet's not right. Our pricing's not right. So to Peter's credit, not mine, he took that and said, okay, let me build you guys a pricing calculator. Because Peter's really, really good at Excel. He loves building formulas and tables and everything else. And he built one that says, drop all the cost in here. It will show you our cost. Here's where you can play with our profitability percentage. Here's how we bake in a commission, or we bake in a discount and make sure. So what we were able to do with that is now we have a calculator that the project manager knows as well as me. And we negotiate, him and I, he puts it together, say, this is what I suggest the price we should sell it for based on the scope of work. And then I will play with the numbers, but I always know what the profit margin is. So then when we go sell it, then it's, hey, Lenny, sold this project. Here's the sheet we built together. He knows before he even starts what his cost is. So he knows we have budgeted this amount of money. He puts it into teamwork. And then he knows how to bleed that cost down across the size of the project, knowing that we're trying to achieve X% of profitability. Yeah. And I can't tell you how much that changed. So now every project we do, we have profitability in mind. We are not underselling projects. And I'm very happy to report, and this is a true number, is that we are running right now an average of 53% profitability out of that department based on the projects and on-demand stuff we sell, because it's not that we're great executing it. We're selling it correctly to give our team a chance, the proper allocation of time and hours to facilitate it, versus saying, well, we did that and we're in the red. And we've all been there.
Well, and I just think that that's such a good point, because I mean, I think it's very easy for one person to point at the other, right? Oh, you didn't sell it, or oh, you're not, right? Like, I do think that knowing your numbers now unlocks that. And for me, I love project closes, you're running the numbers, you're offboarding it from the system. Here was the actual profitability. Here's how we did. And now you get to ask yourself a whole bunch of quantitative questions, but also qualitative questions. Like, if I see that we're not hitting the projected profit margin, was this the right client?
Yes. Or where did it go wrong? Did they bleed your time? Did we not allocate enough PM time for Karen? Are we not pricing copywriting correctly, because it actually takes 10 more hours to generate it versus what we're thinking the street price? You can't make any of those decisions unless you have true data, good or bad, to assess. So in kind of, as we continue to talk about, like, data is data. Data can be the smallest sample size, or it can be 25,000 lines of records to analyze and whatever else. It doesn't matter. But you need to start collecting the data to analyze the data. And for any IC that's struggling with that, start with your QuickBooks and look at what you're selling and what you're invoicing, and try to break it down by categories, because you may see, like, I'm not making money on PPC. And maybe you have to change a supplier. Maybe you need to put that away because you're not strong with it in the sense of retention, or you can't sell it confidently, but you're great with SEO and that's been fueling your business for a year. So how do you make those decisions versus reactionary or impulsive business decisions, which ultimately that's throwing shit against the wall and hoping it sticks? And that's a very scary thing with agencies that, are not in the millions of dollars of revenue and depend on every job to sustain their living in a small business mentality.
Well, and this is where, even if you're a one-man show, it's like, track your hours.
Track your hours. How many sole operators say, I don't track hours? Then how do you know what time you're putting into a project or a client to justify what you're paying? Well, I don't know. Well, you wonder why you're not being successful or growing, because you don't even know how to look at the business constructively. And that's not your fault, but hint, hint. You can go order even what the heck is EOS, the employee version, and just start reading to understand these fundamentals. And if anything you take out of this, start with the data module. You don't have to start with staff. Right fit, right role. Start with data and understand the power of it and how to organize it. And you don't have to rebuild your QuickBooks. You don't have to do all this comprehensive reporting. But are you honing the data, and is it organized so that, like Christina says, once a month, if you will, you can pull what you did in that month and analyze it. And then you can start seeing the patterns and turning it into percentages against money in and money out. And that's how you're going to be sustainable. And one other thing you said as well, I just want to make sure it doesn't get hidden under my ranting, is what you said specifically to tracking hours and tracking time. It is the biggest leader of wasted money, is time not tracked. You have to know if, employee X has, you said in this package, you have 3 hours a month of management, and then you go look in time tracking and they're giving the client 16 hours. Right away, you got to sit there and say, are you inefficient? Do you not know how to control the client? Or is this client abusing you in the sense of expectation? And what we should be doing here is saying, hey, Christina, hey, Peter, hey, Mike, we got an issue here. I see that every month I'm running an average of X over, and I know that this is not helping the business. And then someone like me goes and says, hey, John Smith, we're giving you way more service than what you're paying for. I can prove it to you. Here it is. If you want this level of service, I'm happy to give it to you, but we're going to have to move you to the next tier of package to offset the time. That's perfectly acceptable, because gouging and wasting and exhausting resources, but they're only paying you $500 a month, is not good business. And everybody wants more and more and more, but we have to make sure it complies with how we priced what we're selling.
Well, and it just becomes the most powerful ability to upsell. Like I have a recent example of that, even just from this year, where I had a client on a hour bank, so they were paying hourly for work, and yeah, the beginning of 2024, it kind of made sense for them. It was a discussion I had with them. I don't think there's enough work here. It was a PR client, so there's not kind of the regular flow of things you need to do every month. By the end of the year, he had ramped up his business. Therefore, we're ramping up our efforts because we're supporting him from a public relations perspective. And I said to him at the end of the year, I'm like, here's the amount of hours I was spending at the beginning of the year per month.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how it's scaled up. And hey, now here's what I can offer you. A monthly retainer where I'm not going to be, it's going to feel better for you. You're going to save probably some money in the long run. I'm going to be thinking about you more often because you're not kind of this ad hoc hourly person anymore. You're part of the monthly roster. It was the easiest like upsell of my life because here's the data. You need us. Okay, I need you. It's clear to me.
No, you're absolutely. And also, look, in today's digital marketing world, nobody wants to be told by a virtual remote agency, hey, your bank of hours is out and fully utilized. You need to buy more. What do they say? I want to see where the hours went. Give me export of your timesheets. And then you're going to go say, well, I felt like your hours were over, but I didn't track them. And again, data is justification. It's proof. It eliminates contention because no one can lie about data. Look at performance marketing. We tell customers, if we don't perform, you're going to fire us. So if the data doesn't look good, I'm not going to sit there and fight and argue and defend. No. If it's not there, sorry, we tried and it didn't work. It wasn't the right conditions, or we're just not good at that vertical to advertise that. These things happen, but data doesn't lie. And I think another just important thing for anybody that's trying to take nuggets out of this is you have to eliminate subjectivity. Emotional decision-making, emotional client management and stuff, it will go nowhere. If your data is in check, no matter how linear it is or how small compared to how robust, no one will ever be able to topple over you in the sense of what you provide and how you protect your agency, because the data truly is the sticking point. And that's when you know that, oh, Christina comes to me, oh, Mike, you're saying that I've got a conversion rate of 3% and you got me 20 leads this month, and I think you're full of shit. Well, hi, Christina. Thank you for your feedback, but clearly you don't know how to look at a report. So let me pull up the data that's independent to me, that's in your AdWords and your analytics, and let's go through that, and let me tell you what it really means. And, oh, Christina, can you come back to me with that business data about these 20 leads and tell me what you've quoted and what I don't have a CRM, and I don't track that stuff, and, it's all garbage. Well, right there is a digital marketer sitting there going, I will never be able to win this customer's respect in my effort because they don't have their systems in place to collaborate with mine. My data is in check. Yours isn't. Very hard conversation, but sometimes we got to put our foot down on just that, because to come yelling at our technicians saying it's always about performance and the data that is independently tracked is accurate, what are we talking about? And sometimes, you, like you said, you got to cut ties. Sometimes you move them into other retainer options that are more constructive or effective for them. But the data allows you to be black and white, and nobody wants an emotional ops manager because we are defensive. We pretend, you're mama bear, I'm asshole bear, whatever. I'm the grizzly bear. There you go. That's the title of this podcast. Come talk about EOS with the asshole bear. Like, what am I doing? No, but again, if you want strong footing to be able to go into a tough conversation, which, look, digital marketers have tough conversations every day, have your data in place, because no one can contest data. I'm sorry.
I have a great client example. Those are my favorite this is maybe the petty side of me, but you come out of those conversations and you're like, ha.
Oh, can I just say that before you get this right, the fist pump, it's like they write back, they're like, oh, I think this is wrong and this is wrong and this is wrong. And you go, look, it's all there data-wise. You're like, I got you. I can't wait to crush you like an ant.
That's the asshole bear in all of us. But no, so data asshole important. Bear. Like, I feel like intrinsically, we as marketers, we know this. We want data. We had one client who same situation. Oh my God, you're not getting us any leads. There's no conversions. The phone's not ringing. There's this, there's that. And it's like, okay, well, the data's telling me a completely different story. Completely different. So then you get to dig a little bit deeper. So then we start listening to the phone calls, which again, one of my all-time
Another
favorites.
great piece of technology.
And, you know, hi, is this X company? No, it isn't. Well, X company was his main competitor. So, you know, Mike, if someone calls you and goes, is this digital marketing for blah, blah, blah? And you go, well, no, like, this is WSI, we're digital. That is a sale. They are looking.
Sorry to tell you, but I've been actually forwarding your agency's calls to my agency for like the last 3 months. So yeah, this has been happening. Is this CIPR? It isn't, but I can help you. WSI Commandex.
Right, but okay, so it's like, okay, there's lesson one. Like, okay, sure, they called your competitor, but now obviously they're trying to find a sale, and they maybe dialed a number with a Google ad that's a little.
Yep.
Then one, you know, ringing. Then
or your team forgot to update the call tracking routing number, and it's actually going to the wrong customer.
Oh God, that's maybe
it's happened.
Right? Or then you get like the one, it was like he was clearly asleep. Like it was like that, like trying to sound awake, like, hello, I've been awake for out, right? Like it's like, or someone calls, oh, I don't have the answer to that. Literally 3 minutes later, like that's a long time. I don't have the answer to that. Waiting, then they hangs up because nobody's come back. They're on hold for 3 minutes. They've made a call. They want, you know, and this was a service-based client where someone is calling to get a service directly, immediately. And okay, well, I'm going to just call the next guy because if this guy can't answer a quick. So all of a sudden this data informed, hey, dig a little bit deeper. So now I'm looking at the tool, and now the tool is telling me a different story. You present that to the client, and you know, I think this is where the you know, you got to put the asshole bear away, because it's maybe a teachable moment in terms of now this is a teachable moment in terms of, for me at least, it's like I've had 2 clients in this situation recently where one was like, hey, your staff are answering this. Can we script them? Can I help you create some scripts? And this is going to get us over the line. Or, you know what, seems like everyone gets stuck on the phone on this question. Maybe we need to like just train the staff on this. Or on the other end, it's like, hey, you need to have some effective communication on the phone. And yeah, if someone calls and asks for this is how you like. It becomes these teachable moments. And now not only are you able, right, you get to say, the data tells me this, now this other piece of data tells me this, but I'm going to help you. Like, even though you said I was the bad one, I'm going to help you, and now you're going to be the hero.
And it's all the way you approach it too, right? Like, let's be honest, like we love to use this format here to kind of laugh at all the stuff we can't do. But, you know, you have to put people in line sometimes, because at the end of the day, our livelihood is on the line. Recurring income is what fuels small businesses. So, you know, if somebody's going to make statements, they better be factual, because a lot of times it is frustration and anger on their side. Maybe, like I said, they don't have systems internally that, you know, can help support what we're showing them, or they're just novice to digital marketing and it is very technical and there's too much data and it's just like sensory overload. So, you know, are you going to go yell at your client and lose a relationship? Or like you said there, you're going to find a way through data to help educate, show that there is a vulnerability or a challenge. And ultimately, I'm here to help you solve it if you'll allow me to. But let's not sit there and piss and moan at each other and make statements and cry and complain. Let's look at the data, because the data will tell the story. And another thing you mentioned earlier about, again, is where to cut costs. Let's take it away from clients, but where to cut cost. It is amazing how much cost goes through the agency, and you don't even know what's being charged, because, you know, are you looking at your COGS and expenses every month? Are you classifying them correctly? We have labels for everything to tie back, because I want to see, is COGS or is expenses going down? Because if that goes down and revenue stays proportionate or higher, ding, ding, net profitability starts to grow. So you have, you know, oh, there's a subscription that we stopped using 4 years ago, but we get charged every month. It happens more than you think, because we're moving too fast and nobody's got time to do all these audits. But you have to build the system and do it while you're small to be able to control it. Because if you can get on top of that stuff, controlling cost, looking at subscriptions, looking at where money is bleeding, looking at what's, supplier costs against what you're bringing in. The trap of agencies not updating pricing every year. We're one of them. You have to be looking at your pricing every year because inflation, cost structure goes up, subscriptions and expenses for tools goes up. So you have to be looking at what you're selling, because then the next year ownership is going to be like, well, we had a better year than last year in the sense of revenue, but revenue didn't, net profit didn't climb at all. What's going on here? What else? Well, you're flushing money out versus, and that's not running lean. It's running smarter.
Yeah.
Paying for what you need, controlling it, making decisions, because again, you're going to have good months and bad months in small business through the 12 months of the fiscal year, but you can save a lot of money by just tightening the screws, putting some glue in the cracks, and not just flushing that money down the toilet. So look, we could talk about data for hours and hours and hours, and I think there'll be other themes to tie data back in, but I wanted to start with that one. Some people may think it's boring or whatnot, but it's so powerful. And I think what I want to do here, like I said, we're going to be concise and tight here, because EOS could be like a 6-part series and we could just pick on individual modules, and maybe we will. But I wanted to share a couple key benchmarking things. And again, big shout out to Neil Lappy. We talk about him a lot as being one of the most tenured and successful ICs, but Neil is very generous with his time back into the WSI ecosystem. And he really tries to help agencies put those operational processes in place. And Neil's been instrumental in guiding people like myself and you and other friends on what is the benchmark of some of that data we should be tracking. And I'm not going to go through every one of them, but I'm going to pick on a couple that are really important to me. And I'd like to kind of finish with what's important to you, maybe 2 or 3. And then again, we'll pick it up another day. So I'll tell you this, you have to be looking at your sales data. When I say sales, I'm not just talking about revenue and net profit. I'm talking about what is your discovery to IBA ratio? What is your IBA to proposal ratio? What is your proposal to deal ratio? What is your IBA to deal ratio? You need to see, do you have a dedicated salesperson? Are you looking at Peter's efforts and the team around him of how they're trying to fuel business into CIPR? If you've got a 10% IBA to proposal and a 6% proposal to deal, probably why your business is not growing. But can you work progressively over the next year or two to move that to 10%, 20%, 30%? Things are going to start jiving. But that may be the problem in your whole business than operational fulfillment. Another one that is just so powerful is hourly operating cost. I rebuilt that entire thing compared to how Peter did it. I'm not saying I'm better than him and whatever else, but I wanted to look at it. You're chuckling. I'm not saying that to be funny, but like he did it one way and I wanted to do it more constructive because this is my responsibility now. And I found that, our number was proportionally, not huge, but proportionally off. But if I'm not pricing everything back based off a true, correct hourly operating cost, then how the hell can I factor anything into anything we do if that number's wrong? So my point being is those are the 4. And look, there's many other ones. Okay. There's upsell, there is client retention, there's gross profit margin, lots of good ones, but you need to assess the journey of your sales funnel and how you're closing and also prospecting. I think that's huge. And number 2 for me is hourly operating cost on how you price everything you do. Those are the 4 that I'd like to leave as kind of nuggets for people that if you're not being able to track that, go book a one-on-one with Neil Lappy, and he will graciously give you time if you're a WSI IC to help you understand how to do that and start getting that data plan. And he's one of the great ones that has done it well, and that's why he's as successful as he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
no,
what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think I could go into more depth, but I think for me, and I'll shout out another kind of WSI, Ryan Kelly. I sat through a presentation of his once where I forget Ryan always has these snappy titles to everything he does, right? But it was some sort of it was like taking the feeling out of it. So it shouldn't be like, it feels like we should be charging more. It feels like things are really busy. It feels like snow. You should know everything. And I feel like that watching that presentation from him years ago now, it to me was this light bulb moment of absolutely. If more often than not, an ops manager's gut is correct. However, to the point we've made, you need to be able to back the gut feeling up, because the business
Yes.
owner, the visionary, the staff, the team, the client isn't going to go off your gut feeling. They're going to go off your data. And so to me, it's nothing should be about, it feels like this. It should be, here's what the numbers have told us. And then I think the only thing I would add is the power of your data to then be able to sell to your lowest hanging. Who's your low hanging fruit? It's your current customers that love you. And so you blew past upsell, but like upsell to me is this huge component of where I ask this. I feel like I probably drive my team crazy, but I continually like, where are we leaving money on the table?
Mm-hmm.
I just came out of an all afternoon meeting having this conversation around PR services. And it's like, we do a lot of shit for PR now. And we have to, but it's like, okay, but where are we leaving money on the table? We're using new tools. Okay, some things are taking us less time than it was before because we're using the tool, but the tool has a cost. And right, so there's all these interesting considerations when it comes to the upsell. And if someone loves you, trusts you, has worked with you forever, the upsell and the services are contributing to their bottom line, that upsell should be real low hanging fruit for you.
I love that line you just said, is like it's not based on feel.
Yeah.
Can't be based on feel. That is may have worked in a different generation, a different time, a different speed of business. It doesn't work now. You have to be objective. You have to be straight arrow, black and white. I completely agree. And also, tie it back to ops people, which we are. Operation or integrator's job is to refute or support and how to justify what visionaries and ownership wants to do, thinks, and sees. Again, I call it the 25,000 foot overview. But if there's a statement from somebody using their gut or feelings, because we all do, I don't think this is right. We do it naturally.
Yeah.
My job is to debunk it. That's not meant to make Peter feel dumb or Peter's out to lunch or whatever else. It's to say, I'm looking at it with a more robust lens than you are in your role and how you see the business. That's where I compliment you. That's why I'm your integrator. And if I can provide that information in front of you, then we together, going back to what you said, even about your Peter and you and how you assess things with visionary and integrating us, we can have more constructive conversations versus fighting over subjectivity, which we all do. And that's a time waster. That's how relationships break. And that's how people burn out. But if you can look at the data, remember what I said about my Peter? What the hell are you even showing me this for? He goes, makes sense to me. Run. Well, the best yes approval I've ever had versus spending weeks to justify how I can ask him to do something. So data, start small, start to organize it. And if you can afford, get yourself an EOS or a business coach, even if it's part-time. They are so instrumental to help you stay on track to make progress and navigate those conversations versus telling you what to do. So that's the tips we want to give you today for part one of EOS and how we look at it as ops people. But as we wrap up here, I want to ask everybody that follows the podcast and whatever medium that you follow us on and listen, we would love if you went to Spotify or Apple or any of the other streaming providers that have a rating system. Give us a 5-star review. We've collected a handful so far, which we're very gracious for, but would love to gain further momentum and get new people on the looking at the podcast. We're available on YouTube. We have an Instagram following. And also we're on all major streaming providers. So Angry Ops Guy _ WSI, and hint, we may be coming to LinkedIn shortly because that's where our people are. And we're going to put the same content out there so that we can get to more people and hopefully grow this following. But we got to get out of here. Love you. Missed you. Glad you're back. Do we solve anything today?
Absolutely not.
What's EOS? Talk to you later, buddy.
Good luck, buddy.
This angry ops guy just needs to unplug.
Here we go again.
It jogged my memory that I was sick that one. So my voice is even deeper and kind of, let's call it husky. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
may have said to someone that we know together that may edit the podcasts, I said, Christ, I said, a sexy husky voice of an angry ops manager. I said, I should have been a phone sex worker instead of doing what I'm doing.
We've got options. We have options.
Just talk deep into the microphone about digital marketing. And that's 99 cents a minute.